Hey guys, this is Sumuk from TechPP. I hope all of you are doing well in this situation. I know it's been a long time, but we are back and we are back with a huge collaboration with a few of your favorite YouTubers. And what we did is we reached out to them and we asked them a couple of questions. The first one was if you could resurrect one phone in 2020 from the past with modern specifications, what would that be? And the second question is one app or software that you use which not a lot of people are aware of or something that's not really common. So let's cut straight into it. I'm not going to waste a lot of your time and I'll see you at the end of this video.
Hey guys, it's Sandeep from Resurrect, and this is a really interesting question, but one that's also quite difficult to answer. So when I first heard of the question, a lot of Nokia N series devices came into my head, considering that they give me really great experiences. The LG G Flex came into mind as well. But when I think back, all of these devices actually were really great back then. But what I wanted to also bring out is basically a smartphone that didn't reach the level of greatness that it should have reached. So when I thought of that, it was basically the Nokia Lumia 1020. So this was a great camera phone back then and still is, especially considering the sensor size, megapixel count, etc. It had 41 megapixels back when it was launched, and only last year have we started seeing such high resolution on smartphones, in a mass sort of way. So when I thought of it, I think this is the ideal smartphone to bring into the 2020 era, especially because this basically focused on Windows Phone at the time, which I felt was a wrong decision on Nokia's part. I felt they should have just gone with Android, and at the sake of being a bit general and didn't make them stand out as much, it still would have done wonders for Nokia as opposed to having gone for Windows Phone. So I would choose the same design. I quite like the way that this unibody design is. I would stick with the quirky colors as well. I would stick with the sort of plastic unibody design, but what I would like to get is basically an additional camera sensor at the back for maybe ultra wide angle shots. The main sensor can remain the same, but of course, considering that now the other hardware, internals, etc., the Snapdragon processor, all these things have gotten much more advanced, I feel that we can get better results from the main sensor itself. I would also like to have a larger screen up front, perhaps with smaller bezels. Over here you can see that they still had the capacitive buttons as well, and even huge bezels up top. So these are the kind of changes that I'd like to see, and even the change from micro USB to USB Type-C. But basically a modern take on this, which I feel even Nokia can do if they try hard enough. So it's not difficult to take something that works well and kind of develop on its shortcomings, especially after a huge number of years. And although it might not seem as revolutionary as it was back then when this phone came out, at least it'll still be a great phone. And that's my pick for a phone to resurrect in 2020. One of the applications that I use quite a bit but not a lot of people know about is basically Drivo. So this is an application that you can use to log in all your automobile related data. So for example, if you have a car or a bike, you can log in all your refueling sort of receipts and the expenses that you have with it related to insurance, your servicing, oil change, tire change, etc. And at the end of it, you can even export it to an Excel and combine it with all your other expenses as well. It also gives you unique graphs and stuff about how much you have spent over the course of the past year or during the lifetime of your ownership of a particular vehicle, and it also shows you the amount of money that you spend per kilometer, with all these expenses in mind.
Hey guys, this is Harsh here from Technolobe, and if there's one phone which I could resurrect from the past, it has to be the Nokia N8. I remember when it came out, it looked really futuristic and awesome, and it was one of the best phones of that time. So if that phone could come back with modern specifications, Android, maybe stock Android, with 4 cameras and all those good things, then that would be awesome. Now to answer the second question, one app which I have been using recently and is very helpful is TickTick. So TickTick is basically a replacement for your stock notes app, and it is way better. So you can have different categories of notes and reminders. For example, personal notes or work notes, or if you want to remember someone's birthday, you can do that as well. You can create your shopping lists and everything all in one app. So it can do a lot of things, and it can do a lot of things right. That's why don't forget to check out TickTick. It's available on iOS as well as Android, and you can use it seamlessly. Anyway, thank you so much for having me. It was a great pleasure.
If I could resurrect one phone from the past, then that would be Galaxy S2. My first ever Android phone was Sony Xperia Sola, and I bought that only because Galaxy S2 was not in my budget, and Galaxy S2 was always my dream phone. Like for almost one entire year I was like, I want to buy the Galaxy S2, I want to buy the Galaxy S2. Even after Galaxy S3 was launched, I was like, I want to buy the Galaxy S2, but it was not possible. It was simply out of my budget. Like it was 17,000 rupees at that time, and my budget was around 5-10k. If you're wondering why S2, then that's only because the custom ROM community, custom kernel community, and basically the community of Galaxy S2 was huge, and it was one of the best, if not the best community that I've ever seen. Whenever Android 11 launches with the Pixel 5 now, you will see an article published on all these media tech websites that Galaxy S2 also got a custom ROM which has Android 11, and that's how good the community is. After Galaxy S2, probably we have never seen such a great and a huge community for any other Samsung devices. Latest Samsung devices like S20 Plus barely get a working TWRP, let alone having plethora of custom ROMs to choose from. And S2 is going to be the device which I would like to see with modern specifications and the same community which was present for the Galaxy S2. If I had to choose one, I don't really have any option, but from the past 10-15 days, I'm using the Adidas training application for workout and exercise because we are at home, why not get the exercise done? So I guess that's the only application which I can think of. Other than that, I've used the basic applications like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Insta, and all those stuff. That's it. No special applications as such for me.
What's up guys, my name is Suraj. I run a YouTube channel called Tech Devoted. I hope you're all doing well. Sunuk from TechPP reached out and asked me to be part of this collaboration. So firstly, thank you so much for having me on. He asked me to answer two questions. Number one, if you could resurrect one phone from the past with modern specifications, which one would it be? Now this is a very tough question to answer because there's so many good phones from the past that I like. But if I had to pick one, and I don't really know if this is a valid answer because technically this phone never even came into existence. I'm talking about Google's Project Ara. Now if you're an enthusiast, you obviously know all about Project Ara, but for those of you that don't, essentially it was this idea that there would be a modular smartphone where you and I, regular customers, regular users, could swap out different components of the phone and add new ones to fit our needs or requirements. So for example, if I have a phone with a mediocre CPU and I wanted a better CPU, I could just buy only the CPU or borrow it from a friend and take out my old one and put this new one to have better performance for PUBG or whatever. So I think this would be really cool. Obviously it never took off, but I think to have this level of customization, it's basically like building a custom computer. I think if they can make it happen for a phone, that would be super awesome. It would be giving the consumer complete freedom. But if this is not a valid answer, if Project Ara is not a valid answer, then I would go for LG's Nexus 5 or Google Nexus 5 because I just really like that phone for some reason. I think the form factor was perfect. It obviously had the best of Android, and I just generally think that phones should not be bigger than that. And this coming with somebody with giant hands, like I can quite easily operate even the biggest of phones with single hand, but I just still really like the Nexus 5 for its form factor. So I would like to see that phone too with newer modern specifications. I think that would be super awesome. Question number two, an app that I use a lot but is kind of underrated. That would be AirDroid, hands down. AirDroid is basically an app that allows you to transfer files between your computer and your Android or your iPhone wirelessly. Now I use an Android and Mac setup, and it's kind of a problem for transferring files. Sometimes I wish I was an iOS just because of AirDrop, but honestly I'm not a big fan of iOS. So this is where AirDroid comes in. It's basically like AirDrop. You just download the app on your phone, and then on your computer you just go to a particular IP address or a website or a link, and then from there you can just drag and drop files and it will automatically be sent to your phone. Obviously it's also available on Windows, but the way I use it for sending files from my Mac to my Android. So yeah, that would be my pick.
Hey guys, I'm Ashar from mr.phone, and thank you so much folks over at TechPP to invite me for your first ever collaboration. I'm glad to be here, and you guys have asked me two questions. So the answer to the very first question is, which phone would I resurrect in 2020, considering which old phone would I resurrect in 2020? And the answer to that question would be the N-Gage QD. And there is a reason. I mean, the N-Gage series, the Nokia N-Gage series, it was a gaming phone at that time, which came with a dedicated D-pad and a numpad, which would work as action buttons as well. And in this day and age, it will make absolute sense, considering gaming phones are all the rage these days. Imagine if Nokia resurrected the N-Gage series with trigger buttons. PUBG fans all over the world will go berserk. I would pick one up for sure. The N-Gage QD resurrected in 2020 would be an excellent phone, in my opinion. All right, for the second question, and which is the one app that most people might not have used, and I'd want to recommend is, and I've been using this app regularly, and that app is Mubi, M-U-B-I. It is a streaming service for really cool audio movies which are not generally available on platforms like Netflix or Prime. These are most of the times extremely heavy adult content, but ones that are watched by film connoisseurs, film experts, ones that have the curation of these movies are ones that are have made the film circuit, have gone to Cannes and other film festivals and stuff like that. So these are movies that are not probably something that everybody would like watching, but if you are into filmmaking as such and would love to know about the world of film and how to actually make great films, I think you should get a Mubi subscription. So I think Mubi is definitely one of my app recommendations. Yes, of course, you guys like Netflix, Prime, Hotstar, obviously I do too, but this is an app that I think is absolutely an essential for hardcore movie lovers.
Hey guys, Gizmodict here, and first of all, thanks a lot to Sumukh for having me here. So if I could resurrect one phone from the past, it has to be the Sony Xperia S, because that is the phone that got me into tech reviewing and creating my own YouTube channel and things like that. Plus, there were a lot of cool things about this phone that we miss on flagship phones these days. It had this transparent bar at the bottom with the buttons on it, which looked really cool back in the day, and it still looks damn cool. Apart from that, this phone had a separate port for HDMI, so in 2012, you could connect this phone to your TV or your monitor. It had a separate HDMI port for that. It also had a headphone jack, which phones nowadays are missing. And my most favorite feature of this phone is that it had a shutter button to click photos. So definitely this is that phone that I would want to resurrect from the past, and I hope you guys agree with me. And secondly, if I talk about the most used app on my phone that other people don't know about, it has to be Filmic Pro. So Filmic Pro is a paid app, and it's specially for video creators because it gives you so many features like a log profile. You can control your ISO manually, you can control your focus. You can also have support for third-party filming accessories. So all in all, it's a very good app if you're a creator, and I actually use so many clips in my reviews from Filmic Pro that I record from my iPhone or from my Samsung or from my OnePlus device. So yeah, Filmic Pro is an app that I use a lot, but I don't talk about it. So Xperia S is the phone that I would like to resurrect, and Filmic Pro is my most used app. So that's it from my side. Thanks for having me once again, and I hope you guys have a great one.
Resurrect a phone from the past with modern specs. I'll go with HTC HD2. It was a beast with a 1 GHz single core processor, 512 MB RAM, and a huge 4.3-inch display. I know it sounds funny now, but these things were not frequently heard of back in the day. Now, it wasn't just a beast during the year of launch, but for over half a decade, thanks to the infinite possibilities it offered to those who were into customizations. I'm sure you've heard of Android phones getting custom Android ROMs, but a phone being able to run a different operating system altogether, that's what the HD2 was known for. The reason being, it came with Windows Mobile 6.5, which offered a subpar experience. That, in part, motivated the developers to port multiple operating systems to this phone, including Android 4, 5, 6, 7, Windows Phone 7, Windows 8, Windows RT, and even Ubuntu and Windows XP. Android 7 was ported 7 years after the phone launch. Wouldn't we all love to see a top-spec'd phone today that can be tinkered to this extent? I certainly would. So one app that I use a lot or find really interesting that you may not know about, I'll go with Headway. This app just presents the key ideas of books. Now, I'm somebody who finds it really hard to develop the habit of reading books. The thought of having to spend so much time to finish a book totally demotivates me. But Headway has a super short version of books with just the key ideas. It takes less than 20-25 minutes to finish a book. And even better, every book has an audiobook option as well.
That happened in the past, or becoming stressed about something.
The collection is decent. There are books across various categories like health, productivity, investments, and so on. There are some nice features to keep you hooked. Now, I'm sure bookworms will say this is terrible, there is nothing like reading a whole book. I agree with that. But then for folks like me, this is better than reading nothing at all. So that's it for my take. A huge thanks to Team TechPP for having me.
Hey guys, this is Saurabh from Allbot Technologies, and if I could resurrect one phone from the past, then that phone would be OnePlus X, for a very simple reason: Oxygen OS. If you combine that with something like 720G, 6GB of RAM, 128GB of storage, and IMX686 sensor at a price tag of around 20,000 rupees, then that phone would be just boom. It would be amazing. But I'm sure OnePlus won't really do that because they want to be in that premium segment. So yeah, but that is one phone that I would like to resurrect. The app of my choice is Udemy. Now this video is not sponsored. I'm also not sponsored by Udemy. The reason why I'm suggesting this application is because we all are locked down, and I think this will continue till the end of April. So you have a lot of time in your hand, and if you wanted to learn something, then I think you should check out this application, or maybe there are several similar kind of applications that you can check out. I have recently picked up this course related to product manager because I wanted to learn about that particular role. So I feel like it is totally worth spending 300-400 rupees and to learn about a particular topic that you always wanted to learn. So maybe utilize your time and put some little bit of money to gain that extra knowledge.
Well, so if you ask me what phone I would resurrect in 2020, that has to be the iPhone 5s undoubtedly for me. That form factor and that design, the legendary Apple design. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know I'm a huge sucker for small phones. So the iPhone 5s in that compact size with of course the modern internals and a display that is similar to that on the iPhone 11 Pro, the one with the notch. The edge-to-edge one, I feel that would be amazing, that boxy look on the sides, which is rumored to come back in the iPhone 12 series. Let's see how that goes. But yeah, it has to be the iPhone 5s for me, that same size but with of course a bigger bezel-less display. Now if there's some app that I use a lot and maybe not a lot of you know about, it has to be WAMR. Now basically this is a WhatsApp message recovery service. So you can delete messages on WhatsApp once you send them, and maybe you sent it by mistake, you sent it to the wrong contact and you want to delete it. But this app basically lets you read deleted messages from your contacts, and this also works not only on WhatsApp but also on Telegram as well as Instagram. So next time your friends send you something and they delete it, you know what they sent before they deleted the message. So yeah, the links to all the apps that have been mentioned are in the description box down below. Also a huge shout out to everyone who participated in this collaboration. Thank you so much for making this a real big success. Well, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. The links to all the creators are in the description below. Please go and subscribe. Also hit the like button and share this video with your friends. Yeah, that's pretty much it, and we'll see you around.